Welcome into Dome at Home Live, presented by FedEx. You're getting a look at Soldier Field, where your New Orleans Saints at 4-2 get set to take on the 5-2 Chicago Bears. Hi everyone, I'm Caroline Gonzalez. Welcome into Dome at Home Live, presented by FedEx. Welcome into Dome at Home Live, presented by FedEx. You're getting a look at Soldier Field, where your New Orleans Saints at 4-2 get set to take on the 5-2 Chicago Bears. Hi everyone, I'm Caroline Gonzalez. Welcome into Dome at Home Live, presented by FedEx. I'm here in downtown New Orleans on this beautiful day right outside the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in front of Champion Square, getting you set for this Saints matchup. On today's Dome at Home Live, we'll have a breakdown with Saints legend and former Chicago Bear Jermon Bushrod. We'll also have a one-on-one with Saints defensive end Marcus Davenport. First things first, I want to bring in my colleague John DeShazier, who's at Soldier Field for our countdown to kickoff, presented by Waiter. JD, can you tell us a little bit about the weather conditions there in Chicago?
Well, we've got a forecast high of 37 today. We've got a steady wind of 20 and wind gusts up to probably about 45, 46 miles an hour. And that's weather, Caroline. Back to you for sports. No, it's going to be cold. It's Chicago. It's what they do. The wind's whipping in off the lake. It'll be fairly miserable conditions for the Saints, especially if you're talking about throwing the football and you already don't have three of your top four receivers in Michael Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, and Marquez Callaway, which would lead, you would think, the Saints to lean on the ground game. And it can be done against this good Bears defense, because the Bears allow about 120 rushing yards a game. The Saints, during their three-game winning streak, have run it for about 132 per game. So if the Saints are in that 130 rush yard game, you would think that would bode well for them, Caroline. But the weather is going to be really, really miserable in terms of throwing the football. You might have to pick your spots. You don't know when it's going to gust up, so we'll see exactly what both teams plan under those circumstances.
JD, you alluded to it. The Saints without their top 3 wide receivers. They're without Michael Thomas, without Emmanuel Sanders, and no Marquez Callaway, who's really stepped up for the Saints as of late. And it seems like all season they've had to deal with that next man up mentality. Do you expect it to be the Alvin Kamara show once again? Would you expect to see a little bit more out of Jared Cook? What are you expecting to see out of the Saints today?
Well, I'm going to assume Alvin Kamara is probably going to get between 25 and 30 touches. That's a little bit on the high side for him, but he's your most effective offensive weapon. Traquan Smith, receiver. Deontay Harris, receiver. Juwan Johnson, receiver. Austin Carr, receiver. Those guys are going to have to step up. They're going to have to beat some man-to-man coverages because the Bears like to play man-to-man. They like to press. They like to be physical. So you got to beat a guy, and one of those guys, or maybe 2 of them, will have to make a play for Drew Brees because you have to throw it some. You can't just run it completely. This ain't, the Big 8 football back in the 70s where Oklahoma and Nebraska ran it 70 times. You're going to have to throw the football, and some of those guys will have to make a play.
On the defensive side, JD, especially after that Panthers game, the talking point was the big chunk plays for the Saints and the Saints secondary, namely with Robinson active and playing for the Bears. Where do you need the Saints secondary to step up? How do they do that? How have they addressed that this week?
Look, I just want them to keep it simple, Caroline, to be honest with you. Keep stuff in front of you and tackle. Keep it in front of you and tackle, and make Chicago have to chip its way down the field. And when you give up the chunk plays, here's the problem with that. A mistake in the secondary almost always equates to 6 or 40 yards or 50 yards. They need to keep it to a minimum. Make them chip their way down the field. They might make a mistake along the way, whether it be a holding penalty, whether it be an offensive pass interference. Maybe it's a fumble, or maybe you do create some pressure and get a sack or force an interception. But make them chip their way down the field. They can't continue to give up 74 and 60-yard touchdown passes and expect to be successful against the better teams in the league. You want to make teams chip their way down the field.
There's your information right there. A reminder, fans can watch the game today at 3:25 p.m. Central on Fox. You can also listen locally on 870 a.m. on WWL to your very own Zach Streif and Deuce McAllister. Thanks, JD. We'll check back with you in just a bit. For now, let's check in with Saints fans who are checking in from all over the nation. It's time for our Black and Gold roll call presented by Zatarans.
This is Kevin and Bella in Dallas, Texas, representing the New Orleans Saints.
Hello, my name is Sebastian, and I'm from Louisiana, and I'm a New Orleans Saints fan.
What is up? My name is Riley, and I'm going to be watching the New Orleans Saints Who Dat Nation right here at home in Ottawa, Canada, in my lovely basement. Let's get this win.
I'm originally from India. Right now I am in Birmingham, Alabama. Go Saints 2020. Come on, Saints.
The Martins and the Tallbirds from Pollock, Louisiana wish to say, Go Saints!
It's Lori and Finn checking in from Mid-City. Let's go Saints!
Love seeing Saints fans from all over in their black and gold. Let's take a moment to look back at last week's victory over the Carolina Panthers in our WWL Black and Gold recap. It was an NFC South showdown in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome last Sunday that went down to the wire. Drew Brees went to work without 2 of his biggest offensive weapons, Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. But that didn't stop the Saints from pulling off a balanced offensive attack. They were 12 of 14 on 3rd down, and punter Thomas Morstead basically took the day off.
You guys don't have anything for me?
Well, after.
I'm really sore. As long as we're not turning the ball over, I'm great not playing except for holding. So I always tell the offense, as long as our drives are ending in special teams plays, whether it's a punt, field goal, or an extra point, we'll win a lot of games doing that.
As for the defense, Marcus Davenport stepped up when it mattered most, sacking Panthers quarterback Teddy Bridgewater in the final minutes of the 4th quarter, which took the Panthers out of field goal range. That was week 7. Now, let's take a look at this week's opponent. The Bears fell to 5-2 after suffering an embarrassing loss against the Rams on Monday Night Football. Quarterback Nick Foles completed 28 of 40 passes for 261 yards with no touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He was also sacked 4 times. Their offense currently ranks near the bottom of the league, but their defense is a force to be reckoned with and one of the key factors behind the team's fast start. Here's what the Saints are saying about today's matchup in Chicago in the Bose Soundbites of the Week.
Man, they've been great. They've been awesome. I think it's something that, if you look across the league, some teams can't do that, and I think with our O-line being so athletic and being good, I mean, not only in that aspect, but, just movement and pass pro and things like that. When they get down the field, it's like they don't miss a beat. They take as much pride in that as they do protecting Drew.
Yeah, well, they rush the passer. That's something they've always done a great job of. And so, when you look at, just for example, their big play reel, they don't give up a lot of big plays, and it's a product of great pass rush. That they get to you before you really have a chance for things to develop. And obviously, they're really good on the back end too. They got 2 really good safeties, 2 very good corners, and obviously, good nickel and dime players too. So they're good in coverage. So equate tight coverage plus good pass rush. Usually equals good results for a defense.
No matter who's up, we got to be prepared to play. We got to be prepared to do our job. That's the biggest thing. I think Marquez did a great job last week of coming in and filling the void. And that's what the game is about. Everybody's not going to be healthy. You pray and you hope, but everybody's not going to be healthy and ready on Sundays, every Sunday. So it's up to the next guy to step up and do big things and come in and help us when we're needed. So it's just continue to keep guys in tune and keep them locked in and focused so they can be able to help us on Sundays.
They do a lot of good things. They got a lot of good weapons over there. Have a good 1-2 punch out of the backfield. Foles is playing really well. They're doing a good job of managing the chains, staying in front of the sticks. They pose a lot of different threats on 3rd down and in the red zone. A good balanced attack. So it's going to be a good challenge for us this week.
We've heard from the players. Now let's take a look at social media. Look Who's Tweeting, presented by Cox. From the New Orleans Saints official account, the Saints are 54 years young today on All Saints Day. On this day in 1966, the NFL awarded the 16th franchise to the New Orleans Saints, and the Saints were born. You love to see it. Everybody's ready for this afternoon's game, including a Saints legend, and joining me now is Saints legend Jermon Bushrod for our breakdown presented by NOLA Lending. Jermon, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Hoping to see a Saints victory today. Jermon, let's get straight into things. The low-hanging fruit for the Saints, the storyline ever since Friday has been the Saints are going to have to play without Michael Thomas, alongside no Emmanuel Sanders because of COVID protocol, and no Marquez Callaway. What exactly does that mean for the Saints offense?
What it means is that they just have to continue to have a next man up mentality. Going back to the last year, they played the Chicago Bears in Chicago again, and they didn't have Drew, and they had Teddy, and they went on a 5-0 win streak without him. So continue to have that next man up mentality. Traquan Smith, continue to keep stacking these good games like you've been doing this year and last year, and let's utilize Jared Cook. Like you said earlier, you have no Marquez Callaway, who's kind of a guy who's stepped up the last couple of weeks, but Deontay Harris is a guy you want to try to find and get the ball in his hands a little bit more, because he can be electric when he has the ball, and continue to keep feeding Alvin Kamara because he looks great this year. He is leading the team in rushing and receiving. So if he can continue to keep doing that, I think that's a good recipe to have a good day.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll hear Deontay Harris's name a few times today. But Jermon, you're a former offensive lineman. Last week against the Panthers, Teron Armstead had to leave with an elbow injury. He is going to go in today's game, but James Hurst had to replace him for the game last week. But how much does that help with camaraderie on the offensive line, having the guys that you've played with game in and game out, not only this season, but for several seasons now?
It's a big deal. It's a big deal to have those guys in there, just making sure you're very familiar with the individual you are playing next to. But the good thing is you have good, talented guys that back up the good, talented guys that we have playing. So, Hurst came in last week, and it wasn't much of a drop-off. I think he had one slip-up that he wish he could get back, but he went in there, he played well, his technique was good enough, and he'll be ready to go on either side if he continues to use the technique that I've seen in the game last week. And, hopefully you can keep those guys healthy up front, because it's going to be a big matchup today. But, I know that Teron has been dealing with a couple things, so I know Hurst has been getting some reps in practice, so that's just going to help him, if his number is called again this week.
Absolutely. And Jermon, I want to go to the other side of the ball now on this defense. The Saints gave up a few chunk plays last week to the Panthers. We've been talking about this defense ever since training camp, how good they were going to be this season. They've dealt with some injuries and different things like that. But what would you like to see out of the Saints defense today?
Continue to be the dominant run defense that you have been. What's the stat is, 49 straight games without allowing a 100-yard rusher. That's pretty impressive. But you got to keep the Bears' offense one-dimensional. The Bears have struggled to find their identity in the run game, and since Foles did take over for Trubisky, their running numbers every single week have been extremely low. You're talking 28 yards in one game, 35, 63, and then 49 in another. Don't let this be the week that they find their identity in the run game. And let's just clean up the deep ball defense, and I think that would definitely help the Saints get into that win column this week.
I moved on too quickly from the offensive line. I got too far ahead of myself, but this Saints offensive line is going to have to deal with Khalil Mack, who's up to 5.5 sacks so far on the season. How do you go about slowing a guy like that down, containing him, because you're not just going to completely stop him?
Well, first and foremost, you have to have a balanced offensive attack, and that starts with the with the play caller. He's obviously experienced enough to understand the weapons that the Chicago Bears do have, not just Khalil Mack, but Robert Quinn as well. So just continue to keep having a balanced offensive attack and staying ahead of the chains. But Teron and Ramczyk have done a solid job over the years playing against him. They've had success against Khalil Mack, and I know Teron versus Robert Quinn as well. But Mack does have good power. He's really good on the edge. He has a really nice dip and rip. But the one good thing is Drew Brees tends to step up a good bit. He has great pocket awareness. So if they can continue to keep the dishes clean on the outside of the pocket, switch their sets up, work together, know when you're having help, know when you don't have any help, when you have chip presence, when you don't have any chip presence, and keep Akeem Hicks firm on that front of the line so that Drew is able to step up. And I think that's a recipe for a win.
Akeem Hicks is certainly a name we're going to hear several times today, I'm sure. All right, Jermon, take off that Visualize and Rise hat and then put on your coach's hat.
Here we go. Here we go.
Here we go.
I had it right here.
You had it ready. I love it. All right, so if you were in the locker room there at Soldier Field, you've been prepping all week, what are the 3 things you're telling to this Saints team to come out with a win today?
Look, the Bears are solid on defense. That's kind of how they've been able to get these 5 wins that they have this year, but also understand that they are giving up 120 yards a game, and it's going to be cold, it's going to be windy. So establish your run game on offense, take care of the ball, understand that patience is key in this game. Like we said earlier, Foles in every single game has also thrown an interception, so patience will be key this game, understanding that you will strive to get that short field that you want, but make the Bears go the long haul. And like we talked about a little bit earlier, defense, we got to limit some of the big plays through the air. That's really what I think it is. Establish a good run game, take care of the ball, and let's limit the big plays on the defensive side of the ball. And even though they are a little depleted when it comes to the receivers, I feel like they can go into Soldier Field and get this W. It's going to be windy. It's going to be cold. It's not that dome. You know, it's not 75, 73 degrees, whatever we're used to playing in. And so, you know, I just think those 3 keys will definitely help these guys this week.
That coach's cap put in some work. That was good. I'll be sure to relay the message to the team at Soldier Field. Jermon, we appreciate you joining us for the breakdown presented by NOLA Lending. Hopefully we're all watching a Saints win today.
I agree. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Cool. One lucky Saints fan is today's Ochsner hero. He does so much for the New Orleans community and so much for the mental health community, and he got a special surprise from one Saints player. It's our Ochsner hero. Today's Ochsner hero is Dr. Sawyer with Ochsner Health. So what exactly does a neuropsychologist do?
A neuropsychologist is someone who's trained to evaluate patients who have cognitive trouble. The other part of our program, besides just trying to understand if you have trouble, how do we keep your brain well? For 20 or 30 years, we've heard all about heart health. And now we're really in the decade of brain health.
How have you seen the shift in the last few years between sports and mental health?
Men, historically, especially in professional athletics, have a hard time acknowledging and opening up around feelings. There's a lot of kind of gender expectations and male role norms, right, about how you're supposed to behave. Unfortunately, what we find is that that's really toxic for them. And so, hey, let's take a step back, let's get that treated, and maybe we can be a more optimal spouse, more optimal player, and be a really good example for fans, for our kids, and those things like that.
We have a surprise for Dr. Sawyer. We have Saints' own CJ Gardner-Johnson joining us from the New Orleans Saints. Introducing you to Dr. Sawyer. Dr. Sawyer, this is CJ Gardner-Johnson.
How's it going? How
you doing, Dr. Sawyer? How you doing?
Thanks.
CJ, Dr. Sawyer is a neuropsychologist with Ochsner, and you recently came out and talked about your mental health and how everyone struggles with it, and you opened up about it, how you've struggled the last 2 years. So we wanted to kind of make that connection because that's something that Dr. Sawyer is extremely passionate about.
First of all, I want to say thank you guys for having me on. Mental health is not something that you want to go through. And I went through as a football player, like being an NFL guy, making such amount of dollars, family member, friends, like you see so much different things going on. So you're trying to figure out, okay, how can I balance this? And mental issues don't necessarily have to be with money. Doesn't necessarily have to be with family. It definitely doesn't necessarily be with your love or feelings towards somebody else. It can just be you challenging yourself in your own brain and questioning yourself. And I feel like the more you can get answers to yourself about your mental, sit down and open up and hear how others are coping with it, see how you coping with it, see how you can bring those ideas together. I feel like that's what helped me get through this whole summer.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think we also, there's so much in sports around performance and how our mind can drive our performance. I always love to watch coaches because they're actually the best psychologists in terms of trying to motivate people and help people perform. Most of we assume most people in the NFL are at a certain level. So at that point, the next thing is mental, right? Like, how do we get your mind in a way that you perform just a little bit better than how we know everyone else is generally going to perform pretty well. And so I think that's a really good point.
It's funny to think of Sean Payton as a psychologist, but CJ, we know you have therapy and things to get to, but we appreciate your time and thank you for your recognition of Dr. Sawyer as our Ochsner hero.
Congratulations, Mr. Sawyer. Dr. Sawyer, I apologize, Dr. Sawyer.
No, it's fine.
Well, Dr. Sawyer, the work you are doing is incredibly important to everyone, and sometimes it doesn't go recognized. So we want to appreciate you and congratulate you for being the Ochsner hero and say thank you for all of your continued work in Ochsner.
Thanks so much.
Calling all fanatics. Check out this week's item of the game. Go to the Saints mobile app or saintsmobileshop.com to make your purchase. And while you're online, don't forget to set your fantasy lineup. Here are this week's fantasy leaders presented by Mercedes-Benz. The Saints defense had some struggles last week against the Panthers, but there were some major bright spots, including what may have been a game-saving sack by Marcus Davenport. And for more on that, we go back out to Soldier Field to our very own John DeShazier.
Well, Caroline, he's been a welcome re-addition to the team. We know he missed the first 5 games with injuries, but getting him back into that defensive line rotation has meant a world of difference for the Saints. We saw it against the Chargers, and then we see it against the Panthers. We were able to catch up with Marcus Davenport this week for a quick sit-down for Dome at Home. Now, Marcus, you were doing your post-game interview, and Cam Jordan runs up and screams, "Close it, close it, close it." You finish out the game with the sack against Carolina. Just what did you see on that particular play? You know you guys needed a defensive play, obviously, but what did you see as you made your move?
Really what I saw most was everybody doing their job. That was just one of those things where, you're put in the right position, and you just got to make the play. And from there, it opened up wide, just like we practiced. I have to give a shout out to Anzalone and the other side of the defense, being able to do their jobs and, just setting it up for that one-on-one with the back. And, I was able to finish it, so it worked out.
You had an unfortunate setback as the season began, stunted your start to the season. How anxious were you to get on the field with your teammates and start contributing?
Anytime you miss time and basically any point of an injury, you always want to come back. That's the biggest emphasis. You want to be able to contribute to the team, and just not being able to be out there, it really, I wouldn't say necessarily took its toll, but it definitely makes me appreciate this more now.
Hey, Marcus, what do you feel like you do best on the field? Now, we've seen you with the bull rush, and a guy who has your height seems to not be a type guy who can bull rush the way you can. But I remember Cam, when you were a rookie, saying he's stronger than he looks. And you seem to be stronger than you look. But what's your favorite? What do you feel like is the move that sets you apart?
So I feel like my moves have kind of changed over these past 3 years, and especially coming into this year. My favorite move has to be from like my rookie year. It was more of a bob and then a swipe outside. It was mainly set up off of a different angle. But this year I'm trying to be able to work that more into like just my all-around rush. So bob, sap, club, just different things like that.
Defensive lineman, what would be the most satisfying thing? Is it the sack? Is it the sack strip? Is it the sack strip recovery? Is it the sack strip recovery touchdown? You hadn't got the touchdown yet, but what's the most rewarding thing for you?
Man, the most rewarding thing has to be getting off the field on 3rd down, forcing the punt. Yeah, I feel like if anything, that's the most rewarding, because we're off the field, we got our job done. That means there was nothing, that could be done more. Except for the sack strip and the forced fumble. But, basically getting off the field. Yeah, we get off the field, that's a good day.
Speaking of getting off the field, you're playing a Chicago team that had some difficulties offensively in its last game against the Rams. But obviously, you expect the best out of them, because you can't assume a team is going to stay into a rut. So what do you see from that Chicago team that really gives you guys pause and concerns you?
We see a big team, big offensive line. We see a good team. And, like you said, you can only expect the best. And so, that's what we expect. We expect to see the best. And, we just got to focus more on our details. That's really our biggest thing, our little details that we got to follow through and, stick with.
It's not a division rival, but is there a sense of familiarity there? You just played these guys last year. This will be the 3rd time in 4 years that the Saints have played this Chicago team. Is there some familiarity there?
Yeah, you talk about last year, and we know they're not the same team. But, there's still some respect, still some carryover. And from there, anytime you get to play a good opponent, you always kind of remember that, and, you take it with you into the game.
I think this is the Saints' first outdoor game this season, and it's going to be cold. So are you kind of looking forward to that, though? Because a lot of times, people will say a dome team doesn't adjust well outside. Well, obviously that isn't true of this team, but are you looking forward to, I guess, kind of getting up there and getting into quote-unquote football weather outside in Chicago?
See, I've never really been a fan of the weather, but honestly, I know we're just excited to go play. You know, that's the biggest thing. You know, it's another chance, and you know, especially, you know, coming just even from the offseason, you know, me personally, you know, none of this is fully guaranteed, so I know as a team we're excited just to go play.
Okay, 3 straight wins. What has that feeling been like? What do you feel like you guys have done well, especially defensively, in those 3 straight wins?
Dang, that's a tough one. Man, look, I don't think we really are thinking about what we've done well. You know, we're more focused on what we got to do better. And from there, it's just, you know, details. You know, we're back in on ourselves, and it's just, you know, we're trying to work on our details.
Well, Caroline, as you can see and hear, Marcus Davenport extremely happy to be back among his defensive line mates. And now back to you to present the inactives by Acadian Ambulance.
Okay, you see the inactives there on your screen. Wide receiver Michael Thomas, no wide receiver Marquez Callaway, offensive lineman Nick Easton, defensive back Ken Crawley, defensive back DJ Swearinger, offensive lineman Derek Kelly, and finally defensive tackle Malcolm Roach. Okay, let's head out to Mid-City to our very own Marche Washington, who's checking in with some Saints fans.
Happy game day, Saints fans. I'm Marche live at Treps at the last stop off the Greenway. We are so excited for the Saints to take on the Chicago Bears today at 3:25 on Fox. I am here with my good friend Willis and his dad. How are y'all doing?
Good, and it's Wills, not Will S.
It's Will. Thank you so much, Will.
No, W-I-L-L-S. W-I-L-L-S.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So question, who do you think is going to win today's game?
The Saints, we're going to crush Chicago, just like we did last year with that 36-25 win.
Oh, and I love that he knows the score. So tell me, who's your favorite player?
It's a choice between Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas. They're both really good. But then Michael Thomas has been out for a lot of games thanks to an ankle injury, a discipline, a game discipline, and now a hamstring injury. Is it a hamstring injury? Yeah, hamstring injury.
I think we're going to, stand up. I think he should do the report. We're going to hire this kid. All right, here we go. So tell me more.
Well, the Saints have been really good this year with a 4-2 record so far, and the Bears have not been doing so good. The only reason they're 5-2 is because we had a bye week, and we're 4-2.
Listen, Willis is giving us all the information. Make sure I get your information because we got some business to take care of, okay?
Uh-huh.
So you're going to show me a touchdown dance, right?
Yep. This is what I call the squabble wobble.
The squabble wobble. Let's see. Hey. Thank you, Willis. I appreciate you. The Saints are winning today because you told us they are.
Yep.
And we're going to be what?
We're going to be the Saints fans.
Always. Thank you, Willis. Let's go over here and talk to some of our amazing friends. We have some great Saints fans in Traps today. Hey, y'all. How y'all doing?
Hey.
So, us too. We're so excited. It's game day. What's the score prediction for today's game?
Well, today we are going to predict the Saints are going to beat the Chicago Bears 28-17.
I love it. Go Saints, right, y'all? Go Saints! Thank you guys so much. We're throwing it back to Caroline at the Superdome.
Thanks so much, Marche. Happy to see you out there. Let's take a look at some fans who are showing love for the home team by checking in with the hashtag SaintsGameDay presented by Coke.
Saints fans, don't forget, you can win big today no matter what happens on the field. Open up the Saints app and play Extra Downs presented by America's Card Room. You'll see questions like this one. What will be the result of the Saints' first possession of the second half? Touchdown, field goal, punt, or other. Head to the Saints mobile app to play for a chance to win $1,000.
Saints Nation knows how to show their game face, and sometimes they do it on social media, especially for an away game. Let's take a look at a Trash Talk presented by Waste Pro. From Lovely Lala 1234, my Saints are going to ball out and bring the win home. I know that's right. The second one comes from Ron Clements. A good All Saints Day to everyone. The Bears have no shot. I don't think so either. Let's take a look at player warm-ups presented by FedEx. Jawan Johnson is going to have to step up certainly for the Saints today in the absence of Michael Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, as well as Marquez Callaway, without 3 of their wide receivers today for the Saints. The conditions at Soldier Field, 40 degrees Fahrenheit, 42% humidity, 25 miles per hour wind. So hopefully JD is somewhere tucked away in the press box, and hopefully our Saints players who are used to playing inside a dome, fair weather outside. It's the point in the show for our score predictions fueled by Chevron. I'm going to go with 28-21 with a Saints win. JD, what do you got?
Well, I'm going to go 31-23, and you might think that might be a little bit high, but I expect the Saints to either give me a touchdown on defense or on special teams, one or the other. They had a great special teams game here last year. I think they might be able to replicate it, and I know that defense has been maligned, but I think they're going to give me one in one of these games. I'm hoping it's going to be this one.
Thanks a lot, JD. We'll have to see. All right, let's go back to Soldier Field for my favorite part of the pregame show. It's our player huddle presented by Mercedes-Benz.
Hey, man, got something special, man. Listen, the word today is impose your will. Impose your will. The beauty of this game, you don't have to look for your opponent. He's going to be standing right there in front of you. Locate him and impose your doggone will. Win your one-on-one. Don't just win your one-on-one. Dominate. We imposing our will. We proud. We kill. We eat. Play fast. Play physical and just do your job. Play fast. Play physical. Do your job. Here we go. We don't take what you take. Win.
We're almost to kickoff, Saints fans. We are so close to being there as your Saints get ready to take on the Chicago Bears. Don't forget, you can watch the game at 3:25 p.m. Central on Fox. If you're local, you can listen in to Zach Strief and Deuce McAllister on WWL Radio at 8:70 a.m. Don't forget, fans, to come back right here following the game for our post-game show presented by Mercedes-Benz. We'll have the live press conferences of Sean Payton, Drew Brees, and several other Saints players. You don't want to miss it. All right, let's take it to our Saintsations to get us hyped for the game. Let's do it, Saints fans.
Party going up, the party going up, party going up, the party going up, party going up, the party going up. Better go get it. Better get it, better go get it. Better get it, go get it, what you waiting for? Better get it, better go get it. Go get it, go claim it, what you waiting for? Keep winning, keep spinning, adding to the digits, helping while I'm sipping. Go get her, mo to the back, go get her, I'ma stash me a lot. Keep spinning, foot tripping, trip tipping, all-star vision, add more digits, exclusive with the business, always winning, better go get it. Where my down south brothers, where my down south sisters, my down south sisters, it's getting hot in here, it's getting hot in here, it's getting hot in here. Better go